Welcome to the podcast. I know we've been off for 2 weeks. It's just been a rough couple of weeks, and there's been a lot going on. I think a lot of people know things that have been going on in my life, but haven't really talked about or touched on. I haven't really known how to, and there was the idea to just continue putting out podcasts we've already filmed, because sometimes we just bank episodes. If we have people in town or we're doing stuff, we'll get 2 or 3 at a time or something like that. And we had some ready to go, but I just didn't feel right about putting anything out, not only on social media, but definitely in the podcast, without having some sort of context for everything that's going on, at least in my life. And I guess that's what you kind of sign up for when you start putting yourself in the public eye and you make yourself transparent and you talk about your life and all that kind of stuff. So that's really kind of what I've been struggling with over the last few days, of trying to figure out how to, talk about what's been going on or let people into what's actually been happening. And it's, I guess, the only way to go about it is just to talk about it. And I didn't want to just sit here by myself and talk about it. So Andrew is here. Andrew runs the podcast pretty much. I mean, he's here every time we film a podcast, cutting between angles. He's researching guests poorly. So I figured it was just,
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I figure I'm really honestly pretty anxious, just because I just don't know how to go about anything that's going on. But I guess the best way is just explain the last few weeks. Well, we were on tour. Andrew was on tour with me. He plays drums on when we do shows. So we were on tour with Chris Webby, and we did the Canada tours, half US, half Canada. The tour was awesome. It was great. It was very draining physically and mentally and emotionally. When you get home from tour, there's always this weird transitional period when you get back, because, like I said, it's this giant dopamine drop off. It's this whole feeling of you had no time to think about anything else except for the tour. And then you get back, and then you're just dropped kind of back home with all your normal life problems, and not even but just your routines and bills that have to be paid and errands that have to be run, and you got to go to the grocery store, and even going to the grocery store feels fucking weird. Everything just feels very weird, and it takes, for me, I don't know about you, dude, but it takes a week or so of me transitioning to get back to normal. I don't know if that's similar.
I felt that this time.
Yeah.
Went to the grocery store. I was like, I mean, we've done this a lot now. It's like, but that feeling doesn't.
No, it doesn't
go away.
And on this one, I was especially physically drained. I was just beat up. I was jumping off of a lot of shit. I wasn't sleeping much. So I got back home. I don't know. I think, did we get back home on that Wednesday? I think we got back home on Wednesday.
I think it was a Tuesday.
Maybe something like that. My birthday was on that Friday, the 16th. So I guess I kind of had something to look forward to. Just, I'm not huge about my birthday. I never really have been. I'm not a big birthday guy. I don't know what about it. I don't, weirdly enough, don't really like being the center of attention in a weird way. I like putting my music at the center of attention and stuff like that, but I don't like me being the center of attention a lot of times. So not huge on my birthday, but I was looking forward to this one. I wanted to see all my friends and hang out. And like I said, I was physically pretty fucking beat up, dude. My knees and my ankles were done, man. I don't know why. It was especially pretty rough. So Megan, my girlfriend, she put together like a spa day for like a massage and sauna and all that kind of stuff, which I was also really looking forward to, just to kind of get my body back on track. So whatever, there was a lot of just emotional stuff going on from the tour. There was emotional stuff with my birthday coming up. And we get to the spa and I'm doing the sauna. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I'm just kind of trying to, I don't know, meditate and just get my mind right and all this kind of stuff. And I was about to go into this massage, and I think I saw something about Sky Daddy's album dropping. And Sky Daddy, she's a friend of ours, friend of mine. So I was texting Sky Daddy, congratulating her on the album dropping and everything. Just proud of you, whatever. And I get a call on my phone, and it's a number I don't know. So I just thought it was, I don't know, a telemarketer or some scam likely type of situation. So I just kind of let it go. But I saw the area code, and the area code was kind of weird for a scam call. So I just kind of let it run. And as I'm typing this text out, then I see that it's leaving a voicemail. And I thought that was weird for a scam call to be leaving a voicemail. So I would never normally check and look because I don't really care. But for some reason I looked, and it was a voicemail from my mom, who I haven't talked to in years, telling me that my older brother had shot himself. And I didn't listen to the voicemail. I clicked it. You know what it I don't know, you know when it puts the text of whatever the...
Yeah, I feel like that's newer.
Yeah, it just, all I looked at it and I saw the text of it. I couldn't listen to it. I read it, and everything around me kind of I don't know, it kind of shut off for a second. I just felt like, you know, in the movies when they do the zoom and it does like the pull in zoom at the same time and the world kind of does this around you. I felt I just didn't know how to act or feel. And I thought I was going to have a panic attack. And at the same time, like, we're at this fucking spa thing, which is like everything is like chill, relax, all this kind of stuff. So I had to go pull Megan out of the massage that she was about to start, like walking back, and I just told her everything. And I don't what to be. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. And I called my mom, who, again, I haven't talked to my mom. I didn't know my mom lived in Las Vegas. You know, I haven't talked to her in years. Her and I have had sort of a fractured relationship. I'll talk about it in a little bit. A lot of my family on that side is just fractured from years of trauma and mental health stuff and drug abuse and just all kinds of stuff, man. And so like I said, the last thing I thought I was going to hear from the last person I expected to hear from was my mom. So, but I mean, you fall right back into your role, you know, and I called my mom and was just like, I'll be there in 15 minutes. So we went over to the house, and yeah, he was gone. And I don't know. Everything. I don't know. I talked to my grandfather, who I haven't spoken to in years, my mom, who I haven't seen in a long time, and it was just a really heavy time. And then realizing my brother wasn't there, and I don't know. It's horrible situation. But I mean, feel free. You can jump in wherever you want if you want to talk or anything, ask, whatever.
You know, yeah. I mean,
this part I feel is important, because what I was most anxious about was sitting here and talking about this with a friend. Even though I've known you forever, these conversations are not easy to have. And I feel like a lot of people go through incredibly traumatic things and don't talk about it because it might be uncomfortable or it might be weird or you don't know how to navigate a conversation. And there is no way to navigate this sort of conversation.
Yeah, there's no easy way ever. So
No.
but it's like it's exactly what you said. I remember when I just got word of it, it was, you just don't expect that. And then I'm just like, nothing I can say or do. It's like you want to do as much as you can, but you're like, it's the most tragic news you can possibly hear. So it's like, when Megan kind of, we were supposed to have dinner and she sent the message that it was canceled. And I'm not normally one to think negative, but I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Something's up. So I just simply said to her, I was like, I hope everything's okay. And then she kind of, she's like, he could use a phone call. I'm like, man, I know birthdays aren't your thing, but I'm like, I think I give you a call, but you guys are finally made it to a dinner, like yourselves with some time. You guys walked into a place. I was like, I'll talk to him tomorrow. And then just hearing it, I'm like, man, this is like the last thing you want to ever hear. So, I mean, we've, for sure want to be there for you, but it's like, and then now you're facing you got to go and hand all these logistics. And it's like, man, I can't imagine that in itself. I had a little bit of a scare with my mom back in the day, and it's like the last thing you want to hear as family,
Just
losing.
I think I've dealt with deaths before, obviously. I mean, when my stepdad passed, that was unexpected. That was another holiday. That was Christmas. When Mikey passed, nothing like every single time unexpected. It's never been like this person's sick, something's happening, or you see it coming or anything like that. But this one hits different because of the suicide part. And it's hard not to feel guilty for not knowing it. Like, it sucks. It kills you to know that somebody, like the person I grew up with, and me and my brother never had the closest relationship. We were never, which looking back, like, I think that's what I've dealt with most in this last week, is looking back and wishing that that we had a better relationship and wondering why we didn't. Like, I look at all these old pictures of us and we wore the same band t-shirts. We listened to the same music. We wore the same like skate company stuff. We both skated. We both listened to the same shit. Our friend circle was the same, but for some reason we just didn't click that well when we were growing up, and we weren't incredibly close. Like, we were close because we've been through so much together, and he always had like a dark cloud that kind of followed him all the time. Like, he had his own mental health issues when we were, in high school. He had an attempt when we were in high school, and he went to like a facility that he was in on his birthday. Like, I think for some reason there was like a line in Drag Me to Hell that popped up on my thing today that was about being in psychiatric clinics on your birthday. And that was, he was there on my birthday in a psychiatric ward. I remember going to see him when he was in there and trying to be there for him and trying to connect. But there was like, it was just difficult for us. And I don't know if that's necessarily because of the house we grew up in, or the trauma that we had, or the shit that my mom was doing, or having 3 different stepdads throughout our lifetime, or stuff with my grandparents, or him and my mom not getting along, and his drug abuse, and then my drug abuse, and me starting to use when I was like 12. and being in my own world and doing what I wanted to do, we just never really had the opportunity to connect as much as I would have wanted to. And even in the last 5 years or so, maybe less, or maybe more, we haven't talked really at all. And I don't know, getting that call was like, my family unit was so fucked up that I had to disconnect from everybody to get out, to make it out. Because I saw the cycle. I saw everybody trapped. I saw my mom was just getting worse. My grandparents were getting worse. My brother was getting worse. I would try to help them. I would try to help my mom, and she would just end up back in the same spot. I would try to help get people jobs, and it just wouldn't happen. It would get squandered, or it wouldn't work out. Never for a reason other than them. So I had to disconnect from this entire family unit so that I could survive. I did it, and my little brother did the same. And I think a lot of people have, family units that are like that, but you always expect or hope, you don't expect, you hope that people are going to be able to do the same for themselves. But I disconnected from that and had to do my own thing and found success in what I was doing. And I think knowing that there was people that were still left and seeing, like, if I didn't leave, like, is that what would happen to me? Like, that's the cycle, the fucking depression and the lack of resources and the negative thinking and all this kind of stuff. And that cloud that followed that entire family and followed me for so long was hard to get out of. And so knowing that, I always knew it was bad, right? I always knew that I had to get out because it was bad. I knew things were fucked up. I knew my family was not in a good place. But to now realize, like, it was that bad, and just wish I would have reached out sooner and talked to him. And to find out now, like, talking to his friends, that I know, being like, I wanted to call him so much really a lot in the last like 2 years, and thought about it so many times, but thought like he wouldn't want to hear from me. There was like this, I thought that he just didn't want to hear from me. And I'm talking with his friends now and having them be like, yeah, he thought you didn't want to hear from him. And this is like not knowing where any of this came from in the first place, and just wishing more than anything that I would have just talked, just reached out. And
it seems so simple.
It seems so simple. I think that's the weird part too, is finding out just how alike we were. Because I always thought, like, me and my brother are so different. And that's maybe why we didn't connect. But now, like, really looking at it, like, we thought the same things. We listened to the same things. We had the same outlook on things. We have the same trauma. He would catastrophize things. And I think that's what happened a lot in the last week, in the last months before all this happened, is he just had this cycle where he would just think of the worst thing that could happen, and what if this happens, and what if that happens, and if I lose my job, then I'm gonna end out on the street, and then if I'm upside down in this car and I can't afford this, and what if I can't afford that, and then what's gonna happen with this, and the girl's gonna leave me, and this is gonna happen. And it's just a constant talking to yourself, like, all this negative shit. And I have that, dude. Like, I have that on a level that I've been able to kind of do a lot of work on and feel it out. But I'm listening. I'm just like, I do that same fucking thing. Like, not only do we have so much in common, like, all our traumas are the same. We just kind of ingested them differently and developed them in different ways. And just to know that he was in that spot, and there's like everybody will tell you, like, you can't think that way of, like, if you would have talked to him, things would have been different or things would have changed. But it's hard to not feel that way. And at the end of the day, just wish that at least that person could know that you loved them and that you did want to talk with them. And like you guys did have all this history together. And not be able to do that is like a huge hole kind of left behind of wondering what to do now, where your identity lies. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a week, man. And it just makes me think a lot about everything, man. It makes me think about the music I make. It makes me think about the things I talk about. I know people get in dark places, you know? Like I get in dark places. I've been in really bad spots. I like to, you know, talk about it so people know that they're not alone. But then I start to feel like, is there like a responsibility that you have to maybe not dwell on the darkness and maybe like show a light? And I've always felt like bringing people into your own experience is then in turn like giving them a light to know that they're not alone and what they're feeling. But I'm like, if there's, I want to be able to say something that can draw somebody back from that space, you know? And are you doing a disservice by continuing to dwell on the bad? You know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
Yes, I think so. But I also feel like, in a way, you know, people tend in your position to show off all the good, but the subject matter is like a lot of dark, real life stuff. So it's like this, I think, is a silver lining to show a lot of people that as simple as mending relationships and friendships and with family and friends, but it's like, you know, this might help a lot of people in this sense. You know, you're the center of it because you didn't get a chance to do that. And a lot of people have dealt with that and they probably sit with that guilt for years.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you could do. So it's like, you can't really help somebody who's already. I'm thinking with you setting up your boundaries, that was a very important thing to do. Because who knows where you would have ended up if you didn't. Mind you, now this is the situation at hand. It's a very dark situation, but you can't live with that burden. You can't be like, I caused this.
I mean, I don't think I caused it. There's just a
or like had a part in
there's
it.
the thought of like could I have made a difference? And I'm not like at the point, like I don't know what I could have done, but like it's a reminder of that, and it's a reminder of like, I don't know, just what a grind, a constant, like the constant meat grinder that is life that everybody's dealing with on a daily basis, of this wake up, go to work at a job I don't like that doesn't pay me enough and barely get by so I can get back home and try and I don't know, fucking eat well, or I'm supposed to like be healthy, but I don't even have time to be healthy. And I don't make enough money to where I can afford all this kind of stuff. And I bought this fucking car I'm upside down on, and, you know, and everybody's like, worry about what's going on everywhere else. And it's like, dude, everything's fucked up right here, man. And nobody is talking about it. And nobody's talking about when they're going through it. Nobody is speaking about it a lot of times because they don't think anybody cares. And there's been a conversation I've been having with, you know, close people around me recently, and it's being a man in current society and how to speak up about issues that you're going through when it feels like nobody gives a fuck. And there's some people that hear me say that and they'll be like, yeah, whatever, dude. Men have had the upper hand for the last fucking 100 years, centuries, all the fucking since the beginning of
Which
time.
is, I think, the obviously wrong response.
Well, which is, it's not true. I get that. And that has been the case. But what does that mean for me?
Doesn't invalidate your.
What does that mean for the person right now? What does that mean for the 12-year-old kid that doesn't feel that, because that's not what's happening right now? What does it mean for the 12-year-old kid that's like, yeah, fucking men are toxic. Just don't be toxic. Men are toxic. Men are like, men are canceled. Shit like this. And it's like, it's not like blaming women. It's just the whole conversation about men and men's problems are like, we don't really give a fuck. You have it great. Shut up. Like, don't complain. And all we talk about is toxic masculinity. Nobody's talking about healthy masculinity or being able to talk about what's going on with your friends, or if you're going through some shit. Instead, it's like the only masculinity you end up seeing online is your fucking Andrew Tates and shit like that. That's the only form of masculinity people are seeing, because anything else is just people being afraid to just to do that. I'm like, there's a piece of me that wants to, like, just wishes I could have been able to, like, protect him or just talk to him and just speak the fuck up, man. And I was talking about having this conversation with Megan last night. I was like, I'm going to go on the podcast and talk about this stuff, and I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know if I should. But everything in my life from here on out is going to be reshaped and reformed with a new outlook on everything. How could it not? Like, this is one of the most devastating things that has ever happened in my family and in my life. In my already small family, down one more. And for me to not talk about it just wouldn't feel like genuine to me. And I don't even, obviously, as you can tell, I don't even really know how I feel about a lot of stuff right now. I just have a lot of feelings and I'm all over the map. But if there's anybody out there that has like a strained relationship with a family member or a friend or something like that, to just reach out and like fix those relationships, because you just don't know how much time you have, and you might think that you have time and you really don't. And the last thing you want is to live with a regret of like, what if I could have, or knowing that you both felt like you wanted to connect with each other and you didn't. And then knowing that person was hurting as bad as they are and not talking about it. And like, could I have brought it out of him? Could I have gotten him to open up? And I don't think so. He was always a hard nut to crack. I was talking to one of my stepdads. It's a crazy word sentence to say, but I was talking to one of my stepdads, my little brother's dad, who was a good guy. He was like, out of all the stepdads we had, out of all the men that came into my life, he was the best one. He was a good guy. He was a good dad, just a good man. And, he's just like, I know he was feeling a lot of the same guilt of like, did I do enough, even when we were kids? And I mean, all you can hope is just to like show up and do the right thing, and just knowing that dude is having guilt. And it's like, you did everything right to me, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing else you could have done, but you were the one person who did right by this kid. And he was always the one, my little brother grew up mostly with his dad on the East Coast. So it's just me and my brother mostly living together and, going through different stepdads and a mom. We would go from like borderline poverty to having money, back to borderline poverty to having money. This like whole fucking yo-yo back and forth of never really feeling safe financially, never feeling safe emotionally, never feeling grounded in really anything. And he also had, some like learning issues growing up. He was like, it took him like longer to learn stuff. And I know that was a frustration in having different men come into our lives of like stepdads who didn't know how to deal with somebody like him, and even further like into like adulthood, just having, you know, different behavioral issues and mental problems. And early on, he was going through that, and I checked out and I went the other route into just drugs and alcohol full. I just wanted to check out. I didn't want to deal with any of that. I don't want to talk to any of my mom's boyfriends. I don't want to have to deal with him and my mom fighting, or my grandparents and him fighting, or everybody. I just wanted to just check the fuck out. And that's why, I mean, I was talking to someone about this the other day. I was like, you don't end up hooked on heroin at 16 years old when things at home are great, you know? So we always had this kind of back and forth relationship. And I always wish that we had more of a relationship. And I was always resentful against pretty much everybody in my family for making what we dealt with so difficult, you know? But yeah, I mean, this last week has been just difficult, to say the least. And just a lot of reflection into old stuff and psychoanalyzing a lot of things. And yeah, I didn't think it was right to just come on and just start, what's up? Welcome to the podcast. Like, it's not where I'm at, man. I'm in a really fucking difficult spot at the moment. And I just wanted to be authentic and let people know what's going on, and also pay respect to my brother, who's not with us anymore and deserved better, I think, from the world. I felt like he just never really got a shot to get out from underneath that shit, you know, and that cycle of like negativity and depression and poverty that you can get stuck in. And I was stuck in with them, and you can't see out. It's so hard to see out when you're in it. And once I got out, I was like, there's a clear path and I see it. Let me show you. And people can still get so scared of the unknown, because even though this sucks, I'm comfortable in it, and it's all I know, no matter how bad it is. And I wish we would have like reconnected earlier, and I could have been there, even if it didn't change anything, just to have known that, you know, we could have talked a little bit more before the last days would have been great. So if you knew him and you're watching this, like, I'm sure we've talked. I've like talked to so many old friends who I haven't spoken to in forever, that we grew up with. You know, there's a lot of friends I have that knew both of us growing up, that, you know, it's just been a lot of reflection. You know, when you get to a certain age, you stop looking back that far, at least that often. And especially for me, there's a lot of bad memories back then, so I don't really look back that much, but lately have been. So yeah, it's just,
I mean, in a way, you've reconnected with older. I mean, hopefully it's in his honor, and it was nice to connect with some of these people, you know, and share just memories and stuff. But it's like, there's still that grief, you know. I understand that's going to be with you, but it's like, you know, you're going to take, I think your outlook's going to change as life goes on, where, you know, you'll reach out to, you know, old friends and family even. And it's like, I'm learning a lot about this, because it's like, I almost lost my brother to addiction. And I'm like, 1 year, I was certain, I was like, I'm never going to see him again. That's it. My mom and I came to the conclusion it was terrible. It destroyed us. But it's like, you know, then I get a phone call, and he's taking the steps to to better his life. And now he has a son and he's healthy and he's, so it's like, I still see this and it just makes me want to appreciate, my relationship with him and make it, because we weren't the closest in high school and after, and he went down the path, but now we're much closer. And, but it's like, I think this will help a lot of people, the real side of it, but it's like, the tragedy that it is, it's going to shape you for the future. And I think a lot of fans have come up and were like, you got me through this. And it's like, they're showing their support at this time. I notice, I see it online. And it's like, it's switched a little bit. They're going to be there to support and show their love.
That has been a cool part. Yeah. And like, just seeing the support from like your friends and your circle is always nice. I've had people reach out that I would not expect to ever reach out. And some people not reach out that I would have expected. I was like, that's interesting. But I think if this sheds light on anything, other than getting rid of that pettiness, and if you want to say something, just fucking say it. If you want to talk to somebody, just talk to them. If there's somebody in your life who you have a grudge with, like, do you even remember what it's about? Does it even matter? How fucking important is it? At the end of the day, like at the end of your life, are you going to look back and remember what this stupid argument was for, or what you guys even disconnected for in the first place? I couldn't fucking tell you. I couldn't tell you. He couldn't tell you either. We just both thought the other person didn't want to talk. And nobody had heard that, because I don't talk to anybody else in that family. Nobody talks to me. So, I mean, there's not really anybody to talk. My grandma passed, so my grandfather and my mom, and I don't talk to my mom because of issues we've had and all that kind of shit. So it's like the missed opportunity, the missed connection. If you're in the middle of that, I fucking just really hope you can find your peace and find your reconnection with people, because it's so important. It really is. And if you are dealing with depression, if you're dealing with these mental health issues, or maybe something that doesn't even feel like depression, maybe it's just this constant cycle of negative thinking that, I'm not necessarily sad, but I'm fucking lonely, man. I think a lot of us are so incredibly lonely, especially in this day and age, and we don't talk about it a lot. And if you have those thoughts that you just can't turn off, because I think there's a difference between that depression and feeling incredibly low and the thoughts that just don't turn off. And I think, and I know him and I know me, I've had this conversation a lot of like, it just sucks to know he was that sad and he was that down. And I was like, I don't even think it was that. I personally don't. I think he just wanted to turn it off. Just for a second. Just stop the grind just for a fucking moment, man. Because some people don't know how to turn it off. They don't know how to go home and I don't know, take a bath or go for a run or play basketball, play video game, do something in order to turn that shit off. Because it's just this constant grind of life that brings you down, and it feels like there's no way out. And when you're constantly just thinking and having these thoughts, it's not even necessarily I don't want to be here anymore. It's just I just want to turn this shit off, just for a second. And if you're having those thoughts, man, I hope you talk to somebody. You got to talk to somebody. You have to, because this isn't it. Like this feeling is not it. This is not how you want to leave people. And there's like a way out. I've seen way too many people find a way out. Yeah. To believe that is it, and there's no other way of life. There's no other choice. There's no other way of living. There's people you can talk to. There's medications that can help you with the way you're feeling. There's groups you can go to with people who are dealing with the same shit. There's connections you can make. There's so many different outlets. There's so many different avenues that are just so hard to find when you're stuck in it. And it's hard telling somebody when they're in that headspace of like, do the work to try and find your way out of it. You're not going to do it on your own. That's why you have to talk to somebody. And if you talk to somebody, that person hopefully is a trusted person that cares about you and will help you find your path out of that dark, dark place. And I just wish he would have spoken up. I know everybody I've talked to, that's the one. It's like a repeating line I've heard from every single person that knew him of, I just wish he would have told me. I wish he would have told me. If I would have known, if I only would have known, I would have done this, this, and this. If I only would have known, I would have drove to his house right then. I would have done this. I would, and everybody felt the same exact way. If I just would have known, I would have done something. But nobody knows. And it's so important to speak up. And if you're going through that, I'm sorry. I know that dark space and it sucks. And I just hope you can find it in you to speak up. And if this does one thing, if it helps somebody to speak up and tell somebody what's going on, then it's worth talking about.
And you shed a light on healthy masculinity. And it's like a lot of, grown men are probably going to watch this and maybe they're dealing with that. And they don't realize what they are feeling is all valid and they should not be afraid to reach out. Someone's going to care.
Yeah. And there's this whole, even from when I was growing up, it's like, if you talk about anything that's going on, like you don't want to be called a pussy. Or like, oh dude, you're gay, dude. Stop talking about it. Like what?
Be a man, the whole thing.
Be a man. Yeah. And like I said, the conversation is always focused on toxic masculinity of like, this shit's toxic. This thing's toxic. Fucking shut the fuck up, dude. Stop talking about toxic masculinity. Talk about what is healthy masculinity. Can you find 5 guys who can tell me what healthy masculinity is, what it means to be a man, what it means to be comfortable in your own skin and comfortable in your own emotions? That doesn't mean to like, I don't know, wear a dress or fucking wear a pink shirt. That's not like what that is. Like it's just, can you be healthy in how you feel? Can you step up and protect others and be there for other people and show up and do the right thing even when nobody's looking? Can you open up and let people know you and be authentic, even if that means that somebody might not like you, even if that means that somebody might think that you're soft or some bullshit like that? Or can you just show up when times are hard? And I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to change the narrative or fix it, because I'm barely figuring my own shit out myself. But it's something that I have noticed, and I've noticed more and more and more. And I've even I've tried bringing this up to close people around me who are female, and they don't even want to. They're like, "Yeah, what are you talking about?" I'm like, "You don't get it. Like, if you're not, it's okay." And I'm not. It's just a weird place that we're in right now. And I think men are just in a weird space where they don't know their role and they don't know where to fit. And a lot of them are confused. And you find, incel culture on the rise. And you find men being radicalized on the rise. And people are, surprised. Like, I'm not surprised. Like, I see, it's clear to see the path to it. That there's these young men who need guidance and need somebody to tell them that they care and that they're important and show them how to be a man. And the only people out there doing it are people that are already radicalized. And so they just get like turned into this one side, or they get turned against women. And that's not the path, dude, but that's the only path, especially with shitty internet culture that people are finding. And that's really unfortunate, man. And I'm not saying that's necessarily the case of what's happened here, but there is a piece of that not speaking up and that feeling like, why would I talk? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about my plight as a man in America. We've been killing it for the last couple 100 years, but it's like, I'm not, you know, that's all that, like, it can't be a wholesale condemnation of man because one, you know, gender was ahead in the race for so long, I guess. And I don't even know if this is making as much sense as I'm wanting it to, but it's something that's been on my mind, and especially just thinking about him and not only him, but you know, Adam from Dropout Kings is took his own life, I think 2 days after my brother. And seeing that, it's another situation of someone, and that dude is someone who I only met him twice. When I met him, he was like one of the funniest people in the room that I'd seen, and had like a light to him. And when you go online and you see everybody talking about him, it was the same thing. And it was one of those like, no way, like, no way him.
Yeah.
Because he was always joking and always smiling and always happy, but you never know what somebody's really going through. And it's important to check in on your friends and see where they're really at, because you never really know.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's like stuff like this, you know, makes me want to like overdo the check-ins. Like, yeah, dude, I'm good. I'm like, you know, just never really know, because every time we hear, you know, somebody we look up to or respect their work, you know, we hear these tragedies, and you're like, what? You know?
Yeah.
And then so when it comes to the family, I imagine the hate or the hurt, because it's like, you know, I feel like I could have done something. You know, I felt some responsibility even with my brother. I'm like, you know, he had his reasons to self-medicate, and I'm so glad he was able to get out of it, but only he could do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. You know, so it's like, I just feel like these types of situations, you know, like you said, speaking up is, you know, you hear it so much, and then everybody I think is affected from mental health or knows somebody that's being affected at this point. So it's like, you know, 50 years ago, yeah, speaking up on it was not a thing, especially for guys.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to, like you said, it's in a weird place. It's like almost welcomed, but is it being taken seriously? A lot of times we're thinking irrationally, thinking, no, it's not taken seriously, but, you know, it is.
And there's you know, it's even like, if you gotta want it for yourself. Yeah. And there's this narrative that I've always heard, and it's this whole like, it's such a selfish act that people say, you know, it's so selfish. And in a way, yeah, for sure it is. But there's so much nuance, dude. And there's a piece of me that's like, how selfish am I saying, no, you should stay here, even though you can't stand being here another second, but stay here for me. The dude is going to call you every month. You know, how often do we talk to our really our close friends? How often do we really know, like, if things are bad, like, you should stay here for me because, you know, I'm going to call you every week or so. Yeah. You know, so I'm saying, I think it's just so important to maintain connections with people and show up and let people know you're thinking about them. And if you're going to call something like that selfish, which it is, I'm not saying it's not, I think it's important to be less selfish. I'm speaking for myself, of wishing that I was less selfish with my feelings, and could have reached out and been there more. Because the selfishness of me, like, thinking that I know what's going on, and being afraid to speak up, and not wanting to feel uncomfortable, and not wanting to feel rejected.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Because you thought he didn't want to hear from you, and vice versa.
So. How fucked up is that, dude? How fucked up is that, to know that, of like, I was wrong this whole time and he was wrong this whole time, if we just would have just talked.
But that'll shape your friendships and relationships from here on out, you know.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, it makes me grateful for a lot of stuff. It makes me grateful that you and I rekindled our friendship.
I was going to bring that up too. It's eye opening, something like this, because you're like, man, you know, there's fallouts left and right, but then when the fallouts diminish and then you reconnect, there is like a sense of peace.
Yeah, and again, you get to a point where you're like, what was it even for? Like, what was it really about? And it's like, when you think about it, it's like, it's so stupid.
1 year, it's like, no, not really.
Yeah.
Choose your battles type thing. But, you know, I know things, even with people, it's like things start to, you drift apart or whatever. But, you know, sometimes they do come back. And it's like, we were able to flourish and do a lot of cool stuff. So it's like, you know, it's very valued to me. So it's, you know, but yeah, it's a very real thing. I think reconnecting, and even if you're reconnecting and you just check in every once in a while, it's like, even that's enough.
Yeah, for
with
sure.
Certain friends, you don't have to talk every day. You know, just check in, make sure everything's good. Life happens, and people are families, and it's all this stuff. So
yeah, it's important, man.
We're so connected these days with technology. So it's like, you know, even just on social media, just reach out and stuff.
I think there's a downfall to that. I think social media gives a false sense of connection.
Yeah.
It can give you a false sense of like, oh, I know what he's up to.
You'll see what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, so I saw his photo, so I know how he's doing. He's doing good. Did you see the picture?
Mm-hmm.
The fuck are you talking about, dude? You have no idea what's actually going on with somebody just by looking at their social media. It's like there's a big difference. I get it, because I'm so guilty of it too. Of blah, blah, blah is crushing it. Look at them. And then you talk to them and they're not crushing it.
Yeah.
You know, they are going through it. And just, I don't know. It's such a hard place to be in for a lot of people right now. Just life in general, and with uncertainty in so many areas of life, it gets rough, man. So again, if you're going through it, I don't know, can we put something in the description or something like in this video for people if you need somebody to call or somewhere to go? There's places, you know, and there's even, you know, I see stuff, even little stuff, man, like the Facebook group and people that are there for each other when they're going through it is always like a bright spot, something that's really important to see. And I'm always grateful for what they're doing in there and what they're building and the community that they have. And it's important for people to feel like they have a community of people that care about them and are willing to step up. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me over the last week. And again, rest in peace to Adam and the Dropout Kings and Dave Shapiro, was in a plane crash, and he was, you know, a booking agent that, you know, we had talked to a few times.
Daniel, the drummer for Devil Wears Prada.
What was his name?
Daniel. Yeah.
And I know there's other people, and it's just, dude, like it's been a crazy week of just so many bad things happening that it's been kind of almost unbelievable. So I just haven't known how to be, you know, and even when it comes to like social media stuff, I'm like, I don't know how to. I want to start trying to feel normal. I want to have some sense of normalcy. I don't want everything I do to censor around, you know, all the bad stuff. I want to be able to talk about other things, and it just didn't feel like the time right now. So again, I think it was just important to just have this conversation just in general for people. And, you know, we'll be back to it and like next week with some more episodes, especially here. And there's new music coming out, and thankfully for me, it's some good vibe music. You know, it's not dark, because I don't need that right now. You know, I need something that's some happy stuff, some good vibes. And I think that's on the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The next bit of our couple songs are going to be feel goods that I feel like people are going to need right now.
Yeah, but there's
And
a
we'll
piece
get
of me
there.
that's like, is that weird to
We'll
put
get to
out
that
something?
normalcy. We'll get,
you know?
you'll get back to it and just, but like you said, keep being authentic. You know, it's important.
That's why I was like, is it weird to put out something that's, you know,
No, I mean,
fun, good vibes? Like, dude, I need that in my life
Exactly.
right now.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
there's
what
a
I was agreeing
tendency-
with.
There's a tendency for me to write sad songs when I'm happy and happy songs when I'm sad. Like, I don't write, you know, heavy shit when I'm going through it. I've never have. It's always like when I'm at the best place, I find myself writing about the heaviest stuff because maybe I just feel safe to write about it then or something like that. And when I'm down, I write happy things to just feel a little hopeful, you know?
Yeah, I see that, or maybe it feels too real when you're going through it and you're feeling at that moment. I mean, it's pretty extreme. It can be very emotional and on both ends, but there's a healthy balance.
People will say stuff like, "Oh, you know, there's something in me that like I'm not a huge fan of people being like, it's okay, you know, you'll get through it and there'll be some good music that comes from this." I was like, don't bring like what, you know, like that's a consolation prize for tragedy is, but I get whether, and I'm not shitting on anybody.
You'll do it in your way.
I personally don't like it just because it makes me feel like, I don't know, dancing on a grave or using something for that. And I think that's maybe a reason like I never really talked about Mike that much in my music. I just never wanted to feel like I was using that, you know? But I get what people are saying, and I don't think there's a right or wrong thing to say when somebody's going through that kind of stuff because it's so nuanced and there's not really a right thing to say. It's not really, you know, just sometimes don't say anything. Sometimes just listen. But that being said, like the flood of messages has been really cool and nice. And I do read them and it does, you know, cheer me up. But I think what I was trying to say before is like when I'm in something like this and it's like, oh, just, you know, let's try writing about it. I'm like, there's no fucking way. Listen to me on here. My fucking thoughts are just everywhere, dude. I can't focus in on anything. I don't know how I feel. So to be able to like, oh, write about this, I'm like, no, I'm trying to get away from this. I'm trying to escape into anything else right now. And if that's some happy songs, then so be it. That's what you're going to get from me for now, you know?
They're great.
They're good. I'm really excited about them. And I think they're good as, you know, even when we were, you know, having to try and think of content, I'm just like, I feel like I'm being fake right now, just trying to act happy or whatever. But then it's not fake. Like I do use my work and I use music to escape how I'm feeling. And that is the most genuine thing I can do is use this music to help me feel better at the end of the day.
That's fair.
So, other than that, yeah, we're going to be back to our normal, schedule next week of dropping every Monday. And yeah, appreciate everybody who's been supporting the podcast, and we're going to be back and new music will be here June 13th, I think is the next song that's coming. Got a tour announcement coming very soon. It might be announced by the time this podcast is out. Possible.
A couple weeks.
Or very soon after.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very cool tour. I'm very excited for it too. And it'll be taking place pretty much all of August. Also, we got some shows at Dayseeker coming up in July, which is very fucking cool. And yeah, so some things to look forward to, which is nice, especially when you're not really a fan of where you're at in the moment. Find some things to look forward to. It's important. And yeah, I guess that's it. That's it for now. Right?
Yeah. It's been,
I guess,
you know, nice to be a part of this one.
Yeah.
I think we'll do more. I think we're figuring out a way, but
maybe some not so heavy. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean,
we used to have something a little more fun.
But we're
we're
just
back in it,
keeping people updated and stuff. So it's important too.
Yeah, for sure. So if you made it this far, I appreciate you listening. And yeah, like I said, we'll be back next week. So appreciate it a lot. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. Me and Andrew will see you next week.
We'll see you guys.
I don't know if we should bring Andrew just this camera angle here, just in general, even while we're talking to other people. Maybe for when you drop your research. So
my fact checking.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, that's all right. It'll be all right. All right, cool. Well, we'll see you next week, guys, and thanks for hanging out. Peace.